The Beautifull Cassandra by Jane Austen, illustrated by Steinmetz. This is a picture book by Jane Austen. I'm Jack, this is Red Book Joy, and today I want to talk to you about The Beautifull Cassandra by Jane Austen, illustrated by Steinmetz. So Jane Austen had a lot of juvenilia, which is the stuff that she wrote when she was young, and it's collected in volumes which she collected herself. She collected all her old work, she wrote it into volumes, and that was passed on to her sister on her death, and her sister passed it down to family. And so we have this wonderful record of her writing as it developed from when she was a young girl to the accomplished author that we know today. And The Beautifull Cassandra is one of her earlier pieces. It is a novel, as she called it, because she put it into chapters. So it has all the forms of a novel in that sense. It's chapters, there are events, things happen, but it is delightful and funny. And this is now an illustrated version. So in a way, it's kind of like Jane Austen's first picture book, really. So I'm going to do some top-down filming of it while I talk to you about this lovely read. So here we have the book. It's very small, very sweet, beautifully produced. It's by Princeton Press, Princeton University, and the afterword by Claudia L. Johnson. She's a professor of English and an Austen scholar at Princeton. The artwork by an American artist, Steinmetz, whose work I'm not familiar with, but a lot of people who know art might be. I'm not someone who really knows art very well, and he is famous for these brush and ink drawings, and these ones are so minimalist and light, but at the same time I think they really convey a sense of movement and playfulness and lightness and like the energy within the story, and you'll see that as we look through a little bit of it. So I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I just want to sort of tell you a rough idea of it, because if you've never read The Beautifull Cassandra, which I hadn't until this point, then you won't know the story. I think is important to seeing the seeds of Jane Austen's later writing, and we'll see within this quite a bit of humour. I mean, if you consider that she was, I think, 11 or 12 when she wrote this, it's very humorous in places. So the opening, we have this beautiful dedication to her sister, and I'll read it to you because it's very lovely, but also it's apparently, according to the scholar Claudia Johnson, she has said that this is a tripartite sentence structure, which was very common at the time, and it seems that it's Austen playing around with that style. So let's have a look at it. It says, dedicated by permission to Miss Austen. Madam, you are a phoenix. Your taste is refined, your sentiments are noble, and your virtues innumerable. So we see that three-part sentence. Your person is lovely, your figure elegant, and your form majestic. Your manners are polished, your conversation is rational, and your appearance singular. If, therefore, the following tale will afford one moment's amusement to you, every wish will be gratified of your most obedient, humble servant, the author. And here we have the chapter, the first, and all the chapters are really just a few lines, but this one's important, and I like it because it introduces Cassandra, and we learn that Cassandra is the daughter of a celebrated milliner in Bond Street, and her father this is the humorous part. I find this really an indication of Austen's humorous commentary on people who are people's attitudes towards class and snobbishness. So her father was of noble birth, being the near relation of the Duchess of something's butler. So there's Austen poking a bit of fun at kind of snobbery and things like that, because she's talking about someone who says they're of noble birth, but the nearest they get to nobility is being the near relation of someone's butler, basically. So chapter the second, she decides one day that she has fallen in love with a bonnet, and in her 16th year, which is quite a good age for any of Austen's heroines really, she falls in love with the bonnet, and she places it on her gentle head and walk from her mother's shop to make her fortune. And I like that, to make her fortune. So she is not going out to look for love or look for marriage, she's off to make her fortune, which is very reminiscent of things like Dick Whittington and stuff like that to me, and fairy tales and things. A young man is the first person she meets, a viscount, who is celebrated for his accomplishments and virtues. But does this young heroine talk to this young man, fall in love? No, she is not interested. She's off for an adventure. She's off to find her fortune, and she is not interested in young men. And I think it's really telling that this is the first person she meets that we know this is not going to be a young lady seeking out marriage. So I really like that about this. So she curtsies and she walks on, and then she goes off and has some marvellous adventures in which she eats some ices and she runs off without paying them, and she pushes a pastry cook over. She's really feisty. I like Cassandra. And then she takes a cab ride to Hampstead, and she asks him to drive her straight back after she goes up to Hampstead, and then she doesn't want to pay him, so she shoves the bonnet on his head and pushes him over and runs off. So she's quite naughty, really, Cassandra, but she has these crazy adventures. She bumps into various friends along the way, and so she's had all these ices, she's taken a cab, she's met all these friends, and eventually she goes back to her mother's shop where it says... the final chapter, she entered it and was pressed to her mother's bosom by that worthy woman. Cassandra smiled and whispered to herself, "This is a day well spent." And I love it because this is a young woman who's gone out to have an adventure for herself, just for the sake of pleasing herself. And if you read the final sort of afterword, Claudia Johnson talks about the fact that Cassandra is doing all the things that a young lady at that time would not have been able to do or would dream of doing. You know, she's a complete lack of propriety. She's out on her own for a start. She's off having adventures. She's, you know, eating ices and you know, and stealing them and not paying for things and just going to see friends. And she's ignoring the young man who's obviously quite a catch, but she's not interested in that. So she kind of goes on to suggest that these are the seeds of other characters. So let me just read you this tiny amount of the text here. It says that after reading The Beautifull Cassandra, we will no longer be inclined to regard Austen's mature novels as serene or decorous. In the anti-heroism of Northanger Abbey's Catherine Morland, who, disappointed, returns home to appease her extraordinary hunger and sleeps soundly for 9 hours instead of starving herself sleeplessly, we will recognise Cassandra's hearty appetite. In Elizabeth Bennet's dirty petticoats, soiled by her vigorous journey on foot and alone, this shock horror, alone, through muddy lanes in Pride and Prejudice to see her ailing sister, we see Cassandra's readiness to dispense with the rules of propriety. In the comic abruptness with which Austen follows Marianne's enthusiasm for walking in nature, is there a felicity in the world superior to this? With a very unsentimental rainstorm that cuts short her raptures in Sense and Sensibility, we see the same tendency to foil sentimental formulas as in The Beautifull Cassandra. And even in Mary Crawford's quip, "Nothing ever fatigues me but doing what I do not like," in Mansfield Park, we can see the descendant of Cassandra's animated determination to do whatever she likes and with similar dodginess. So that is The Beautifull Cassandra. It's funny, it's sweet. I really enjoyed these beautiful illustrations. I just think they're real light, bring a nice light liveliness to the book. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've never been here before, maybe have a look at some of my other videos on picture books. I'll leave the link to my picture book playlist in the description box below. If you like the look of this book, I'm not sure if it's still available, but if it is available at Books Please online, I have a discount code for that. I'll get you 5% off and give some money towards the channel at no extra cost to you. I get a very small percentage and it kind of helps me run the channel and that kind of thing. So if you like this video, never been here before, maybe consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye.